All right, Bang Bang. Today is Friday. It's April 2nd. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Here with Allie over Zoom. Allie, how are you?
Good. What's up?
Good. I'm doing well. We're recording over Zoom today, a little car snafu. So I hope your car is okay. I hope you're okay. I hope everything's all right.
Yes, nothing that can't be fixed, just a little inconvenient.
There we go. So before we do hop into it, Allie, before we talk about our topic today, I do want to talk about Miller Lite. Obviously, everyone knows this time last year, meeting up with friends for a beer was pretty complicated. But right now, starting to open up a little bit, and you can enjoy Miller time with some friends safely if you're up for it. So Miller time for me looks like right now just sitting at a bar and just enjoying, watching basketball, watching whatever sport is on, and just having the nice white logo, the old school Miller Lite, look. That's what makes me feel like it's just everything's better, everything's a good time. So that was the last time I enjoyed Miller time. I had some good times with the guys in Michigan, and we had a couple Miller Lights, and it was fun. So Miller Lite, it's a great taste with only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs. However, you and your friends are enjoying Miller time, you can have the original light beer delivered by going to millerlight.com/redline and find the delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Big weekend. It's Friday, so we always love when you guys send us drinking your Miller Lite. So send us pictures, all Barstool Chicago, and hope everybody has a great weekend. All right, Allie, what's up? What's the topic of discussion today?
Okay, so we are kicking off baseball season with a baseball murderer. I some of you guys have maybe heard of this. It's a pretty recent story, and it was a pretty popular story when it came out. So this is the story of Brandon Martin, who was a member of the Tampa Bay Rays. So June of 2011, in the first round of the draft, the Tampa Bay Rays selected Brandon Martin, who was at the time a 22-year-old shortstop, and he was in the 38th overall pick. So little did the Rays know they were getting into some trouble by choosing Mr. Martin to be on their team. He played for them up until actually 2013. He stopped playing, but he was still on the team until 2015 when they let him go. So by signing with the Tampa Bay Rays, Brandon Martin was received almost $1 million signing bonus. Like I said, however, hindsight's 2020, that was absolutely not worth the money overall to the Rays. And did you follow this story as it was like when it happened in 2015?
No, I didn't. Obviously, opening day was yesterday, so I was like, man, I wonder if there's anything that involves like a baseball player and some true crime. And this is kind of what we landed on. First overall or a first round pick, 38th overall, is pretty significant. So when I saw that there was a murder involving someone like that, I was pretty interested. So I'm kind of excited to get into it. I mean, obviously it's a horrible story, but it's just so rare when something like this happens. Someone of such notoriety and someone of on this talent level. So yeah, almost $1 million signing bonus, and no, I wasn't following it, so I don't know, what the Rays were getting into and whatnot.
Yeah. So ask and you shall receive for a baseball issue. But so Brandon Martin, he was pretty young. He was in his 20s when he signed with Tampa Bay Rays. He was also in his 20s when he was released and then sentenced as a kind of subsequent of that. So Martin's behavior overall, it started to kind of shift in around 2015ish. He started to kind of he was becoming violent with his family members. He was had accounts of hitting his father in the face, choking his mother while brandishing scissors at her, punching walls, just very erratic and unpredictable, which is scary since he was a big athletic dude.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to overpower, whoever he really wanted to. So this also was tied to Brandon Martin's mental health struggles. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, And his mental health also suffered because of his heavy use of drugs. And I mean, you name it, weed, cocaine, LSD, mushrooms, like he was not helping himself out in that aspect. Obviously being in a position of this magnitude and, being in the public eye, now making a lot of money, it kind of comes along with that party lifestyle. But he just wasn't taking care of himself in the aspect of his mental health. And, that could be he didn't know how to, or he was in denial. Could be either one of those things. But all in all, it was making it much, much worse. And he was actually seeing a psychologist weeks before the killing. So he was taking steps to and acknowledging the fact that he was having these struggles, dealing with schizophrenia, seeking help. Overall, as we will find out, it did not help. But essentially, Martin was released from the Rays in September of 2015 and was placed on a mental hold, actually. So he was released from the Rays and then taken to a mental health facility in Riverside, California. And he was admitted to the Department of Mental Health Emergency Treatment Facility. And he stayed there for a couple of days. He was ultimately, this was as a result of him making threats to his father, who was disabled. So we've got counts of him punching him in the face, hitting him. Now he's making threats towards him. Essentially, the Rays were like, we've had enough. You're gone, and we're going to put you on a mental hold. So he was put in this facility for a couple of days as a result of making threats to his father. And this kind of was the last straw for the family as well. They knew that Martin was now getting violent. He was a threat to himself. He was a threat to others. He was unpredictable. And even though he was seeking help, it wasn't dimming anything down. So after he was released and he was put into a facility, his family decided, all right, we need to install a security system on our home because we are afraid of Brandon or what he might do. To which that in and of itself is really concerning when your own family is afraid of you.
Yeah, big time. And, like you said, he didn't even, he made a little over 4 years in the organization. And you wonder, obviously things like this aren't usually public because of, who he is and what he's going through and, mental health very seriously, but you wonder what the threats were,
Mm-hmm.
like how serious the threats were to get to this point.
Right. And I have to imagine, one being that we've got reoccurring incidences here, multiple with his family, but, being that those threats were enough to release him, they had to have some capacity behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
So not a good situation off the bat. And this made Brandon just irate that he was released. So now he, lost his job, his baseball career. He's being put in this treatment facility relatively against his will, even though he acknowledged that he was having struggles. And he was also clearly had resentment towards his family members, his father, especially after making threats. So this facility that he was in there for only 2 days. And so he was released on Thursday, September 17th. And around 6:30 p.m. after he was released, he goes right to his family's house. And this is when they are literally in the middle of installing the security system. The security technician is there physically installing the system. So unfortunately, this was a wrong time, wrong place for that security technician. But, they get into it. They get into the argument. Brandon gets into the arguments and issues with his father, his uncle, and the technician. And he's just mad at this point. He's mad at the world. He's mad at life. He's mad at his family. He's struggling with his mental health. I don't know that, 2 days in the facility seems more of like kind of an administrative thing, being that, the Rays are like, okay, we're going to release you, put you on mental hold. He was only in there for 2 days. So It's not like he was there like a rehab program where he was there for months or, evaluated and released. It was, to me, that kind of seems like, all right, you've got to go do this. And then you should kind of seek help on your own after.
You know what, though, you would still think that, and I'm sure you'll get to what happens here, obviously, when they're, installing the security system.
Mm-hmm.
He must have been pretty in a bad way, because I think, the average person after 2 days to really sit on things, like
Mm-hmm.
you'd calm down. If he did this right when he got out, especially after being from facility, he must have been really in a bad way.
Yeah, this really ticked him off. And clearly he was not about to let it go. So, like I said, this is Thursday, September 17th, and we're 2015 around 6:30 at night. So we're getting into the evening. The technician is still there installing the security system. His father, Michael Martin, his uncle, Ricky Anderson, and the technician, Barry Swanson. They were all at the house. They were all, prepping, getting ready for the security system. And Brandon shows up and just, again, he loses it. And he beats all three of them. Let me correct myself. He beats two of them to death. He beats his father, and Barry Swanson, the security technician, beats him to death with a baseball bat, and beats Ricky Anderson, which is his uncle, so severely, he wasn't actually pronounced dead at the scene. He was taken to the hospital and was in a coma for 2 days, and then died as a result of his injuries. So within 1 day, a very short period of time, he beats all three of these men to death. And with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Man. It's so violent. It's so personal. It's really, it's horrific in that it was just so sudden like that. There was no, I guess there was foreseeing it, but he just, he showed up, beat them all, and had no remorse, nothing. So he took actually one of their white pickup trucks. He stole that because it was parked at the house. He stole that. And then he basically camped out for the night. And the next morning, so now September 18th, there was an off-duty police officer who was actually going to work, saw the pickup truck and was like, hey, that looks similar to one that was stolen from this triple homicide scene the other day. I'm going to pull it over and see what's up.
So did someone find the bodies then? How did they know the car was stolen? What happened between them?
Yeah. So emergency personnel was notified that there was this scene going on at the house. They showed up. There's two dead bodies, which is the father and the security technician. And then Ricky Anderson, who's the uncle, he was still alive. They take him to the hospital. Police are on scene because now with two dead bodies there, they've got a homicide scene. And
were they found by someone who knew them, or was it like a loud murder scene? I assume it could be either one of the two, right?
Yeah, my best gathering of it, there was not a ton of detail into the scene itself, but being that they were all, installing a security system, that has to go on the outside of the house. You've got, this was not a scene that Brandon was necessarily being sneaky about and trying to hide the bodies or, go about it.
Yeah. And there was also three people. So, the odds are at least one of them had someone looking for them that didn't come home that night or didn't, and whatnot. So,
right. Or if someone else came home that lived there.
Yeah.
Whoa, I rolled up to this massive homicide scene.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't hidden by any means.
So people are looking for the truck now.
Yeah. They notice right off the bat, this giant pickup truck is gone. So, which is so unfortunate that this happened before the security system was, installed. I think it was obviously Brandon Martin right off the bat was the suspect in this. They know he's had issues before. They know he's got mental health struggles going on. He, was just released. He just lost his job. It was very easy to fit those puzzle pieces together. So Friday morning, he's driving this pickup truck. Again, he is not subtle, like by any means. I don't know if he like thought this through or just was like, obviously
acting on rage and just kind of,
yeah, I was like very impulsive.
Had no plan after that.
Yeah. So he was in his pickup truck. The police attempted to pull him over, but Martin then went on like this high-speed chase, thinking he could get away from them. In this chase, he was around, like in the area and passing several elementary and schools in the area. And so all those schools were actually put on lockdown while this chase ensued, until they could catch Brandon. So Brandon ended up eventually getting out of the truck in some random area. There was a house nearby. So he runs, breaks into this random house where the lady who resided there, she was in the shower at the time. Luckily, she was unharmed, but like, how scary to be showering and have this like random dude being chased by the police break into your house. Like, that's so scary. So he broke into their house. There was a struggle with the police. He ended up jumping out the second story window of the house, thinking he could like make a quick escape. But little did he know, one of the police canine dogs was waiting in the backyard for him. So when he jumped out the window, the dog was right there to get him. The dog bit him to take him down. And the dog actually was the one who ended up, being able to take him down. But Brandon tried to also fight the dog. He was like body slamming a dog. I'm telling you, he was, this is just like beyond.
He was hard to contain.
Mm-hmm. He was not going down easy either. So once he was bit by the dog, though, he continued to try and resist arrest. Police were eventually able to handcuff him, get him contained, and they arrested him. He was not immediately taken to the police station. He was taken to the hospital to treat his new dog bite that he inflicted on himself, essentially. And after all of this, so he was arrested. Obviously, we've got multiple charges going on here too. He pled not guilty. To which I'm like, man, this dude just really either has no idea how the criminal justice system works, or just like is super cocky to be like, I'm not guilty after all of this.
Yeah, I mean, similar to last week's with the Home Depot situation, the Home Depot guy. And I mean, they had a little more on him because he had a verbal confession, but it's still a wild plea.
Yeah, it's just like, and I'm sure this is all at the advisement of a criminal defense attorney.
Yeah,
most of them are going to tell you to plead not guilty, but it's like, in this situation,
yeah, but
it's not most likely not going to come out on your end.
Yeah.
So he pled not guilty, and this took place at the Riverside County Superior Court. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder for Michael Martin, Ricky Anderson, and Barry Swanson. Again, his father, his uncle, and the security technician. He was also charged with auto theft, evading arrest, obstructing a police officer, and injuring a police canine. So, I mean, he's got his rap sheet is growing quickly.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. He was held in without bail, rightfully so, at the Robert Presley Jail in Riverside, California, where he awaited his sentencing. Ultimately, the district attorney's office wanted to seek the death penalty for him. He was eligible for it because he committed the triple homicide. And then we've got all these other charges as well. So they were going straight for the punch. When you seek the death penalty, it is not a short process. It takes a long time. And just even trials that don't seek the death penalty take a long time in and of itself. And it has to be so specific and so exact when, prosecuting for the death penalty that it takes a really long time. So and it also takes a lot of money. So he was, awaiting sentence for a long time. And again, he was held without bail. So he's chilling in jail. Ultimately, though, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole and not the death penalty. Now, this was, the trial ensued, like I said, for years. The same jury that sentenced him to life in prison then came back in January 2020 when the decision was ultimately going to be made for the death penalty. And that same jury decided not to prosecute his death, the death penalty charge against him. And this actually, I fully believe this was a result. The mother testified in court. So Miss Martin testified in court. She actually was pleading for her son's life. She essentially, she always knew her son had struggles. Obviously, she had been a victim of his violence before, when he had multiple instances of choking her, putting her in headlocks, just like this irate behavior. And she didn't really, overall, she didn't really know the best thing to do to help him, but he was still her son. She still loved him. And she testified in court, pleading, essentially saying, please do not take another family member from me. I have already lost so many of them. And I truly believe that is probably what swayed the jury's decision. Obviously, he's never going to be a free man again, but it was the decision if he's going to rot in jail for the rest of his life or if he's going to be put to death. Ultimately, they decided that he's going to sit in jail. He has zero possibility for parole, so he will sit in there for the rest of his life. He is in jail out in California. And unfortunately, so the families, both the Martin family and the Swanson family, got justice, but it was a very unfortunate situation for the Martin family and those who were remaining, because now both two members of their family are dead and one is sitting in prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's hard to hear. I would certainly imagine that's hard to hear, because that's who you think of the most, with the people who are so affected from both ends. Mm-hmm. And that's brutal. But I also wonder what would happen if Barry's, the IT technician or the security alarm technician, if his family testified, because he was a random person.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there was a lot of testifying from all victims' side, the Martin family, from Barry's family and friends. It is so unfortunate, like for Barry, because he was just, like I said, he was wrong place, wrong time. All he was trying to do was install, a security system, just trying to do his job, which is not a dangerous job by nature. So, I'm sure he didn't leave for work thinking he was going to be in life-threatening conditions or be killed. Yeah. And then, for his family to find out that he wasn't coming home that night because this random person who is just mad at the world decided to beat him to death with a baseball bat.
Yeah. It's tough. Sad story. Yeah. That's you're already in fear if you're putting that alarm on, so right. They were already like, hey, this could possibly happen. And then, I'm sure when he pulled up and they saw him with a bat, that was probably no bueno for sure.
Yeah, not a good situation. So there is your bummer story to kick off baseball season. Luckily, there isn't actually a lot. When you and I were looking this up for a baseball story, there wasn't too many other ones. So that's a positive note.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's true.
Baseball season is a go. That's the good news.
Yeah, that's true too. All right, Allie, that's it for today, everybody. That's it for this week. We'll be back on Monday. We'll see you then.